This movie was bad.
It was awful. I saw it when I was 12, and I had better memories of it.
Probably because of nostalgia reasons and everything.
I don't know if I really saw the whole thing, because I didn't remember a lot of it.
I mean, you wanted to watch it, so...
Yeah.
This is a film that you're like, when are we going to watch it next? We gotta watch it.
I stand by my decision.
Okay. So does that mean we have to watch the third one now?
Yeah. Well, because, I mean...
No, that's fine.
I don't know how they're going to make it the segue to the third one, but...
Well, apparently isn't that the one with time travel?
They're all with time travel.
This one. Yeah, but that one they explain time travel.
The third one?
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. They're going to
I
have
haven't
to.
seen it.
They're going to have to. But...
I don't know.
Anyway, let's talk about this one.
Yeah, either way, so... Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Triple J Studios podcast. This, as of now, holds the record for the latest we're ever doing a podcast. So, and the best part is that we don't have to tell the audience what time it is.
It's 9:44 p.m.
Dang it! Yeah, but either way, no. Usually we do this at like either 4 in the afternoon or 12 noon. So never 9:44. We just finished watching it, and our immediate thought was to do a podcast on it. So, you said you watched this when you were a kid, and that you didn't remember any of it. For those who have, are just starting the podcast, which I don't know why they're starting season 2, but for any rate, what's your connection with Planet of the Apes?
I just liked it as a kid. It was something I grew up with, and at that time, the movies were on TV, so I would just stumble upon them as they came on. And then it even turned into a TV show. I remember I had my little Cornelius action figure, and I even had a little square cage made out of plastic for the people to be in.
Like you made it, or it was
No,
from the actual?
I bought it from whatever company made it. It was official.
None of that cheap stuff.
No, I got to go out and pick my action figure and my toy, my accessory.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, the first one was I think they're all kind of preachy, and they're all sort of
they all had like a certain message they were all trying to explain.
Yeah, it's a combination of philosophy versus preachiness versus political values, all kind of mixed up into one. But this one, it just kind of, I hate to say Planet of the Apes went over the top, but it did. I mean, they start the movie with a guy who looks like Taylor from the first movie, but it's not, which was played by Charlton Heston. So this guy named Brent shows up in the same kind of spaceship, and he's got a partner, but that guy dies in like a minute. And the whole first hour of the movie, they basically show you again that they're on a planet full of apes, and that apes hate humans. And the guy happens to find Taylor's old girlfriend wandering around on a horse. It was kind of easy. She just stumbled upon. And then he has her take him through kind of the same idea as Taylor would in the first movie, where he sees a town's full of apes. He happens to hear a big story about how apes hate humans, and humans are evil, and decides to get out. Then as they're running away, the apes capture him, and same as the first movie. It's almost like they just kind of took that and said, let's do it again, just a little bit different.
Well, before we get too far into it, which that was like a good overall summary of it, there are a few things that I want to point out before we even begin talking about the film. In the sense that Charlton Heston, the person that played Taylor, you were talking about how he probably got paid very little for this film. He did get paid, needs to say, but he donated his salary to a charity.
Oh, that's good.
So I thought that was nice. I mean, he's not in it for long, so I don't know how much he got paid or how much of that is actually true. It's just on IMDb, but if it's true, then that's very nice. And then also Pierre Pierre Bol, the original author of the novel, did write a screenplay called Planet of the Men, which was tailored 14 years after the events of Planet of the Apes. And it was essentially how there was a human uprising against the apes, and that made them revert back to their primal state. That sounds like a much better film idea than this. I don't know how it actually occurred that they thought of this idea. And then also, you were talking about how the apes or the ape extras in the background were wearing masks.
You could tell the apes that were set up to have lines in the movie and others that weren't, because the ones that weren't had darker skin, and their mouths obviously weren't going to move. They were just kind of open about 2 inches, and there was no expression on them. Although their eyes would move, their face wouldn't. So
yeah, because they were masks compared to the makeup to the extras that were given in the background in the first one.
Yeah, but it was very obvious.
Oh yeah, in the first one it was also directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, who, I mean, we talked about it in the first one. He did a very good job to what I thought of it. And then this one was just directed by Ted Post, who I don't know if he directed the rest of them. I can check that real quick, but I don't know. He did. Coco, you're fine. Coco. He's good. Yeah, even in all these... Alright, sorry for that weird cut there. Coco had to just calm down a little bit. But yeah, no, I think what I was talking about was the different films that he was talking about and putting his name on. According to this, it looks like he only did Beneath the Planet of the Apes, thankfully. But yeah, I'm looking just through the rest of them. Go Tell the Spartans, Good Guys Wear Black, Whiffs the Baby. I've never heard of any of these.
Good Guys Wear Black Whips?
No, Good Guys Wear Black, 1978. Whiffs, WHIFFS, 1975.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Good.
You know, classics. He did the Ford Television Theater in 53. He did The Rifleman.
Okay, well, that's good. And they did have rifles in Planet of the Apes, so...
The Twilight Zone, Columbo. He did good in the television series, but not much in TV films or actual film.
Well, with this one, I think you could have given this to Steven Spielberg and it still would have stunk. I mean, it's not really...
It's because, and that's a whole nother topic, is can a director make a good film with a bad script? Which I say no. The director and the script team and the entire team of everyone involved in a film has to make a good film, you say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the story was done by 2 people called Baldine and Mort Abrahams. I just like the name Mort. Mort. So, with all that, Mort Abrahams was involved in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., that whole show, Mr. Chips, Dr. Dolittle, as an associate producer. Okay, not bad. So why don't you kind of give us a brief... Oh, by the way, the budget was $4.7 million and the box office was $19 million. It's fine.
Okay, well, they made money.
Not terrible. It's not as good as the other films we've reviewed, but it's fine. Yeah. So why don't you kind of give us a brief overview of the beginning of the film?
Well, in the beginning, they left off where part 1 ended, where the original Planet of the Apes ended, on the beach, where Dr. Zaius is tied up and he's telling them go ahead and leave, but something about don't look too hard, you won't like what you find. And Charlton Heston and Nova get on the horse and they ride down the beach and find the Statue of Liberty, and he puts it all together that they blew up the planet.
No, you blew it up. Yeah.
So then
they find a horse. No, they had the horse. My bad.
And then he keeps going around, and they stop and talk for a minute for some unknown reason. Didn't really play any part in the movie. But then they continue, and all of a sudden they start seeing things, and they see fire coming up out of the earth, and they see an earthquake, an earthquake create a cavern, a hole.
Yeah, essentially.
Next to him, and then he sees a wall, and he says, "That wasn't there before." So he gets Nova off the horse. Well, no, he leaves her on the horse. He gets off the horse, and he takes his rifle, and he tells her, "Now, if anything happens to me, you go find Zira, the ape lady." And he walks over, and he goes to take instead of just touching the stone, he goes over with the butt of the rifle, and he tries to ram into it. And of course, well, not of course, but he there's really no wall there, and he falls down and disappears. So she doesn't know what to do, and then ends up finding the new guy, Brent.
Who's just, again, kind of there. But before we go further, Brett also crashes onto Earth.
Yeah, in the same spaceship type.
On Earth, which is 196,940,000 square miles big. So the fact that he crashed about 2 miles from Taylor,
it's unbelievable.
that shouldn't happen.
Well,
out of everything in this film, there's a lot of stuff that is just, why is this a thing? That shouldn't be possible, because I understand that it's 1,000 years in the future. Whatever. They don't prove that the Earth has changed so dramatically, other than the fact that buildings are essentially kind of just gone. It essentially just looks like the middle of Arizona.
Maybe it is.
It probably is. But no, it's the middle of New York City.
And there's mountains there now.
There's full-on mountains. We talked about if there could be deserts there, which I'm still iffy about, but I do understand where you're coming from. With how, like, if time passes,
climate change
and all that
happens. But one thing I just thought of too is you have Brent's rocket came down, and it wasn't too far at all from the ape city.
Yeah.
They didn't see a rocket come out of the sky
both times
and crash. Well, the first movie, remember they landed in the water, and then they had to get ashore, and then they had to hike quite a while. That's
true. They landed right onto the ground. Things should have exploded.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying when watching it. They were. I mean, the rocket, basically the only thing left was the nose cone, which was all collapsed and on fire. I don't know how we lived. There was no. I mean, I think that's part of where the budget went, was they only used like the top of the old ship.
Yeah, and I even remember going like, "Oh, is this the old ship? Like, is this supposed to be like a flashback?" Because then I thought Taylor came out, and they're like, "No, this is Brett."
Yeah.
So Brett and his other crew member, dies, and this is all happening in the year 3955. So way in the future. And he, of course, assumes that he's traveled to another planet. Stop me if this sounds familiar. He travels for a while, finds an entire area called Ape City, and then eventually meets with Dr. Zaius. Sorry, Dr. Zaius.
Thank you. Can't get his name wrong.
Yeah, sorry.
They made a whole song after him. I really wonder if Brent was supposed to, like, what was the point of him looking like Taylor? Because even Zira, a little bit into it, says
Zira and Cornelius are the two chimpanzees from the previous movie as well.
Yeah, and they're like vets and scientists, but they even looked at him at first and said, "Oh, Taylor, why would you hire an actor who looks a lot like the previous guy if you're not really going to go anywhere with it on the story?"
Yeah, what I love too is near the end when they're both in the same room, your mind kind of has to go, okay, he's Taylor, he's Brett. So we kind of keep going forward, and then Brett's like, okay, I need to find Taylor because he finds that Nova, the mute girl from the other film, comes by and is wearing Taylor's dog tags, essentially. And he's like, oh, he's got to be alive. Here, I'll go with you. Why not? You have a horse. And they go back to Ape City, and this is when we see more of this hierarchy and social hierarchy with the different types of power. So, like, if you're a chimpanzee, you're this. If you're a gorilla, you're this. In this case, we kind of have, I guess, our main antagonist, the gorilla, who, do you even remember his name?
I don't think they ever called him by name.
Gorilla General Ursus. Ursus?
Ursus?
That just sounds like a derogatory.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Ursus. Don't want to be associated with that guy. So, yeah, and the general is essentially kind of just going, we need to expand our power and go into we need to conquer the Forbidden Zone so that we can gain more power.
And that that whole speech happened to be when Brett was listening from behind a bush. Conveniently. And
at least 50 yards away.
Oh, he was way far away. He was further than that. Because they zoomed in and you could see there were apes, but from where he was, I doubt he could make that out based on where the camera started.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand why in the first movie Dr. Zaius was very much about keeping everything hidden in the Forbidden Zone, and you didn't find it out till the end, but he knew more about humans than he would let on. Yet in this one, it's like General, what's his name? Ursus basically told him, I guess, be quiet because I'm taking over now, and he went along with it. And knowing if they go in the Forbidden Zone, they're going to find all this stuff. So It's like the story, the idealism changed. And my favorite line from that speech...
Yeah, you wrote it down, and that's when I realized you were taking notes.
The only good human is a dead human.
Which, was that ever... I don't know if you would know because you're more of a history person than I am. Was that sounds like something that like from a speech for some reason.
It does, and I think it's been used in many ways. I don't know if there's one root place that it was said that it's all brought from, but
I don't know.
know.
The whole idea with General Ursus, which we're going to be calling it that from now on because one, I don't care, and two, it's a really weird name. But it kind of reminded me of, you're going to love this, American imperialism. In the sense of like when America was expanding, because I'm going to talk history for a second.
Okay.
Now, I don't think I've talked to you for a while, but from like on the site that I use, Wooshka, they actually can tell exactly where people are listening, which I think is one of the coolest things ever. Because not all, like on YouTube, when like I can see the same thing, but it just goes like people are listening in America, people are listening in Africa, but it doesn't go. But like on Wooshka, it says, hey, you have one person listening to you in Egypt. Hi, person in Egypt.
There's one guy in Mexico too.
Well, yeah.
His name's Jorge.
So I'm going to try to explain American history really quick, and the one part I want to talk about is when America and Russia, when they were deciding who would own Alaska. Okay. Of like that whole deal.
You mean when there's 2 Fridays?
Yeah!
Okay.
That's one of the coolest facts I think I know, and it's amazing. Because, okay, I'll get to that in a minute, but the point is that America was at this point trying to get as much land as they could because they were going west, not east, but west. Mm-hmm. And they were getting Hawaii and all of these other different islands to control trade and all of that. And then when they got Alaska, that was kind of like, okay, now we have oil. That's kind of what the general person reminded me of in that sense. Do you think I'm far off?
No. they didn't do a very good idea, a very good
I'm
job
kind of stretching for what they were
I mean, they
going
didn't
for.
do a good job of telling the story as far as, like, there was no reason given for suddenly wanting to expand your territory into this
Forbidden Zone.
this basically desert that they didn't think he was there anyway. It's like they had this whole battalion of apes going into this desert expecting to find something, which they did, but I mean, who in the right mind would think that they're going to find anything in the first place?
Yeah, it didn't make sense. But
and is that the only direction they could head, is a forbidden zone? What's the other way?
Wasn't there a map that they showed in the first one, and it was just like the map was full,
It looked
except
like
for that tiny
the
section?
Flintstones map, though.
Yeah,
It wasn't really.
like just kind of there.
Yeah, it didn't really show you where they were.
Yeah, they're like, they're here. Where's there? Like,
Yeah, it was general area.
somewhere in there.
We know there's water around them, but that's...
Yeah, but moving ahead, Dr. Zeros kind of objects against going to the Forbidden Zone, but goes along with it anyway. And then he talks to Cornelius and Zero, who are hiding both Brett and Nova, who then they come back and they decide to kind of go on their own. And then this is when we see what I like to call the montage of dead horses. And the reason behind that is because, first off, their horse gets shot, and then we move forward, and then horses, they all get just jumped on.
Yeah,
they all fall to the ground, and I don't know if those are real. It better not have been real, but I don't think it was, and I don't know.
Like that either. I mean, I don't know how you hear the gunshot, and then the horse falls down. How do you do that without hurting a horse? Maybe somebody else knows, but it just seems like...
But at the same point, it's just like, those poor horses. They're all just... I don't know.
And they did it like 5 times.
And it wasn't like a light, like, oh no, he's laying down. No, it's like, douche.
I know.
There goes the horse. And they're like netting them and all of that. It went on for way too long. But eventually Brett and Nova, they get away. And then Brett kind of has his whole realization that he's on Earth, which was more calm. Taylor was more like, gosh dang it. He used more mature vocabulary, but he went, gosh dang it, you blew it up. How did you do it? Brett's over here just like, all right.
No, he was like, I used to live here.
Yeah, I used to work here. Cool.
Yeah, it's like big... Yeah, he was just...
He sounded like that old family member that, like, if you took him to Kentucky or whatever, wherever, he'd go like, back in my day, I used to work here. I'm like, cool.
And he kept rubbing the walls.
Yeah.
Like,
my favorite was...
The first one was, you see just where an old telephone booth should be, and he rubs the top of it, and you see E-L-E-P-H, and it's like, elephant?
Yeah, it's gotta be elephant. Really feeling elephant.
But then he turns around and big sign, what, Queensboro? Or
Queensboro Plaza.
Yeah, and you can read it plain as day, but he still puts his hand on it and starts rubbing it. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah,
and he kept trying to drink water everywhere that was obviously nasty and dirty.
Well, no, hold on. I want to talk about that. So... Oh, wait, my Alaska facts.
Oh, yeah, tell your 2 Fridays.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, and I don't know much about history, but I really like telling people this fact, is that when Alaska was, before Alaska was bought, they were part of Russia. And Russia, so it needs to say they were on Russian calendars. So when America bought them, on whatever date, the people of Alaska fell asleep as Russians on Friday and woke up as Americans on Friday. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
It's just, look, just because I told you that fact every time we bring up Alaska, every time we bring up snow, I'm like, that's great. Did you know?
For the past 2 years, I've been listening to that.
1 year. It's only been one. It's a really cool fact. It's so cool. But
so now back to the film.
Back to this. This is when we start to, Brett kind of drinks some water from a stalactite?
Ooh.
A stalagmite? No, it's
big
a
rock coming out of the ceiling.
It's a stalagmite because it might fall. I don't know, but keep going. What happens after that?
So
While I look up the difference between.
Like anybody cares. So
I care.
He he keeps trying to drink water and spitting it out, and
then he starts hearing some.
And then he starts hearing this hum, and he thinks, "Oh, there's a hum. We gotta follow that." So they
It's so annoying.
it's very annoying. He brings Nova with him the whole time, and they find this ladder that goes up about 6 feet, 8 feet in the air.
And that's when he made the comment of like either this is a sign or this is our death, or something like that.
Well, no, first he puts his hand on the ladder. Remember, and it stops.
Yeah.
And he takes it off, and it starts humming again. And instead of thinking, well, it's just from the vibration, he says, well, this is something intelligent that's leading us here. Or, I don't know, he gave another reason. So he climbs up, and he brings her up. And
It's a stalactite.
okay, good. So they go through this little hole, and it looks like more like a modern type of it's like a metal round tube sort of thing that they can walk through. And there's choices that they could make. There's like they pass 3 or 4 of these other entrances that they could go to, but they decide this one entrance is good, so they go in there. And the further they go, the bigger the sound becomes, until it just suddenly stops for no apparent reason at all. And then what happens? They look around and they see a big door.
Yeah, they walk around for a minute, and
then
they're
they
passing
find more,
all of these.
They find more water, don't they?
Well, they're passing all of these different buildings. Like, what were a couple? There was the New York Wall Street. I think there was the library,
New York Stock Exchange,
Radio City,
Public Library, Radio City,
and then they
all seemingly next to each other.
Yeah, and they walk up to St. Patrick's Cathedral.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or at least, like, what's supposed to be the remnants of it.
And when they see
it looks pretty intact.
Yeah, very much. Big, giant doors. And he sees them, and then that's when they find this really nasty-looking water coming off of a stalactite.
And I even joked of, like, is he going to drink it?
Yeah,
He's like, I'm going to go drink it.
Well, then, remember the spring came up out of it? Like a big water fountain?
And then he looked at it of just like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. And then, for some reason, she goes up before him, and she's way down there getting her water, and he hears this humming again and decides to kill her for, you don't know why yet. So he puts
He's saying, like, some kind of poem or something.
Something about putting his hand around her neck, which he's doing.
Yeah, it kind of sounded, I know, it's going to be meta for a minute. It sounded like a podcast for a minute, was just because he's describing exactly what he's doing. In the sense of, like, I'm now putting my hands on the person and drowning her. It's just like, whatever. You wouldn't see that. Yeah, you wouldn't want to sit here for about 50 minutes or so, or drive, or whatever you do, and just hear me go, I'm now picking up my water bottle. I'm unscrewing the cap and drinking it. I'm now unscrewing it and placing the bottle down. No, just have a poem or something evil that these people would talk about.
Or just don't say anything, because you don't even know why he's doing it yet. So he like makes a decent effort in killing her for some unknown reason, and then lets her go.
A decent effort in killing her.
Yeah, and then he backs off and he runs into the big giant church door.
Yep.
Closing it, and then
because he's like, I need a minute.
He's like, yeah, I gotta.
It's not you, it's me.
This is just wrong.
And then that's when he comes in, and we meet who I'm only going to refer to as Jingles, because he only every time he jingles his head, he goes ding.
Yeah, none of them got names. Anyway,
I think a couple of them did, but I honestly don't know. It might be Mendez. The problem is that there's all of these characters that are credited in the cast. I don't know their names.
No, I don't think they were ever voiced. Well, like told whose name was who. So when he turns around,
Mendez.
Once he gets in the door, he turns around and he sees the back of someone, and in front of that person is this giant golden missile.
None of these credits make sense. But his name is Mendez the 26th.
Okay.
He's not, but it's not ever said, so how do you know that? Okay.
Editing floor stuff.
Whatever.
Cutting room floor.
Keep going.
So, and it hilarious to me because it's a big giant golden missile, and the entire rest of the movie they're referring to it as the bomb.
The divine bomb.
And these people are the keepers of the divine bomb, and they can talk, and they do talk during the movie, but they also can jingle at you, which is just this very, very subtle little. They move their head, and you hear a little jingle, jingle, and
my favorite is
Brent knows what they're saying.
My favorite is when they just go jingle, just the one, because they focus on him, and I think they must have redid the shots of like, what's my motivation? Just nod your head, jingle, done. We're gonna use that about 5 times.
Yeah, same shot.
Yeah, and okay, this is exactly what the Wikipedia thing says. I know it's not true, but the people that write these articles are fairly correct in what they talk about. And I'm reading right here where under the plot. They explain, so Mendez and everyone, themselves to be the descendants of humans who survived a nuclear holocaust and mutated over generations. I didn't pick up on any of that. And by the way, the nuclear apocalypse is supposed to be the whole, like, radioactive bombs hitting Earth and all of that, like, during, bombs.
Yeah. Which was not explained.
Again, I don't know histories.
It wasn't explained.
It wasn't explained at all.
In terms of, I mean, they're in this church praying to this bomb.
The divine bomb.
That's a missile. And they look like people, and then all of a sudden they take off these really elaborate masks, supposedly. And they're all like, the skin is very white, and you can see the veins coming through it like they've been exposed to nuclear waste or something.
Well, not quite, because before that, they talk about, or Brett is brought into this giant room, essentially a giant cave, and the projections of memories are shown into the wall, but it's never explained if those memories are Brett or if they're the people, like Mendez and his people, or anything. And it's also explained here that they're a peaceful group of civilization people, and they don't hurt anyone. They only make you think you're hurt. So really, they're giant bullies who play with your emotions, because what didn't make sense, tell me if this doesn't make sense, but they say he's only thinking about hurting you by thinking that annoying noise. So, to which Brett has he falls onto the ground because it's so painful for him, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if he can hear it, but it's not really there, but he's having a physical effect on it, that means that when they lit the fire, he should be feeling the heat of flames on his skin and should be feeling third-degree burns, but not have any marks on him. So my question is, when it flames up and they show that as an example, why doesn't he get hurt?
I don't know.
Because if that, well, I figured, but more in the sense of, that's my question for, like, I want people to talk back and let me know why I'm wrong, because I want to have a conversation about it. But there's no background on this. It's just like, how can we make this planet weirder? Whoosh, here we go. We got the Jingle Crew.
Yeah. Which I think maybe they should have had some sort of forbearing event in the beginning of the movie.
They shouldn't have opened it with the previous film, because it just reminded me of how good that film was. Mm-hmm. It was I know you might remember it. The Good Dinosaur by Pixar.
Yeah.
Yeah, as of now, I believe is Pixar's lowest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes, for a good reason. But before that, there was a short called Sanjay's Super Team, and that cartoon was essentially all cartoony style, and it's a really great short, and I recommend that everyone watches it. But this reminded me of the same thing. In that one, they showed this really great short followed by a really bad movie. In this one, they go, hey, remember this? Okay, we're going to tell that again. But this time underground and with these weird people.
Well, yeah, it was kind of like...
And by the way, they don't go underground until like an hour into an hour into a 90-minute film.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're in Buck Rogers type of look.
Yeah, it was all that. But we'll fast forward through it because the rest of it, there's nothing really that happens here other than they kind of have this little ritual during it, and they reveal, oh no, they have masks and they're not like normal skin. Probably because of radium.
But why would they bother to put masks on?
How did they make the mask?
And how do they know what they look like? I mean...
Well, they probably look in a mirror.
But...
And they go like, yeah, that's close enough.
It's just funny that because it's like they take these masks off and the masks that make them look all decayed.
They just look like Darth Vader at the end of Star Wars.
They do. They look like the old Darth Vader at the end of that Star Wars. I don't know. They didn't explain that. They didn't explain anything as far as why do they.
They don't, and that's kind of why I'm skipping over it. Is because go and watch the film. I highly recommend any of the films, even the ones that I think are bad, which I think is so far just 1, 2 now. But
what was the other one?
Spaceballs.
Oh yeah.
Which I got a bit of backlash from that from people because they're like, how dare you didn't like Spaceballs, and like it's a classic. Like, fine, I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm sorry that I can't experience that though. If you enjoy it, great. Good on you.
Yeah.
I know a couple people who actually enjoyed the Emoji Movie. I'm not going to stop you.
There might be somebody out there right now going, what do you mean you don't like Underneath the Planet of the Apes?
Oh, you can. There's probably someone out there wearing their T-shirt going like, I can't wait for the reboot of this movie. And we just got to the part where we're doing something different for season 2. So we're going to take a break from the film real quick. And it's essentially during this, I like to ask the guests kind of where they see themselves in the film. So, like for instance, like in this film, you can't be a main character, but like, do you see yourself as more of a person that would help Brett? Do you see someone as who would be with the team of gorillas on a quest for the Forbidden Zone? How do you see yourself in it?
You remember? We didn't talk about this yet, but you remember?
Your eyes just lit up so happily.
Do you remember when the apes were just setting out of the town, and they're leaving? The chimpanzees are there, and they're like the 1960s hippies that don't want war, and they're got their signs, and they're saying, "No war,
we want peace." Yeah.
And so the general said, okay, well, we got to do this quietly, so just put him in a cage. So they didn't shoot him, they just put him in the cage. I see myself as one of the guys putting him in a cage.
Oh. I thought you were going to say you were one of the guys with peace.
No.
Okay.
Not that
I see myself locking him up.
Not that I'm against the peace, but it's like...
No, I get that.
They were in the road. They needed to be moved.
Yeah, which is still seen today, in the sense.
And they kept saying, we want freedom. They weren't not free. They were just chimpanzees in the town.
Yeah, they were just kind of there. It's like
it didn't make any sense there.
Yeah, and even today, many needs to say protesting is still a thing. But have you heard what's been going on in Hong Kong recently?
Yes. With the protests and yeah.
Yeah, do you know what the protests are for?
They want democracy, right?
Kind of. It's so essentially Hong Kong just for the sense of protesting. I'm not going to go into full politics, but in the sense that Hong Kong banned wearing masks in public.
Oh yeah.
So you weren't allowed to wear a mask in public, probably for security reasons. I don't know a whole lot about it.
People doing that for health reasons because of smog and.
They might have, but I don't know enough about it. So people protested by wearing masks in the street. Oh. And I don't know why. I kind of find that funny just because it's ironic. Because it's exactly what happened in America during the Prohibition era. They went, you're not allowed to make beer. Let's drink. Let's make beer. See? I know history. Specifically 1920s history.
Moonshine. Yeah.
Giggle water.
Yep.
Yeah, anyone who's seen my Walter and Ross films automatically know, okay, this guy was born in the wrong era. He's just trying to go back. But yeah, a lot of people in my previous vlog that I did, which if you haven't seen it, watch it. I guess I don't really care. But we had I don't know. I don't feel like promoting my stuff, but I don't know. I had a lot of fun doing it, and you can tell that in the video. But a lot of people were going like, "Oh, you didn't put jazz in it." No, I didn't. Why? I thought you were supposed to be like all jazz. I listen to different types of music though.
If you were in the Magic Kingdom, it would just be there in the background anyway. You should do that next time.
I should. Yeah, but we were in the Animal Kingdom, so all that would have been in the background is like
Drums.
Yeah. And essentially just people going like, and that's all you heard. So,
we gotta ride Pandora.
Yeah, we gotta go now. So, we keep going, and then eventually Brett goes into a cell. He finds Taylor. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention. So you would lock people up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably...
You'd be the one I'm locking up.
See, that was the thing, was that before you said that, I was like, I'd probably be one of the protesters, honestly, just because it's like peace and it's not like anything bad, but like then you said you'd lock them up and all I'm imagining is you walking up. I'm like, hello, Father. Father, where are we going? Dad, help. So it's...
A room with lots of ventilation. Okay. Oh no, it's a cage.
Yeah. There's many tiny windows. But no, it's just like, I don't know. They didn't do anything bad per se. They weren't violently protesting. They just sat down and were going like, we want peace. Make peace. Not war.
I mean, that was just obviously there because it was, when was this, 1972?
1970.
1970?
1970.
So it was right in Vietnam time, and you had this in
I figured
the
that was
U.S.
a political
culture, and the whole thing's political.
All of them are probably political.
Well, between the bomb and all that. But it's like, even those protesters did not make any sense to the movie because there was, as I said, they weren't not free. And the apes were going to attack a desert, as far as they knew. So, why are you protesting?
Yeah.
Let them go have some fun. They were just going to walk around getting sweaty.
So you really were just looking out for them.
Yeah, I wanted them kept safe.
Yeah. All right.
And you too, because you'd be a protester.
I'd probably be the guy that would make the signs. Just like, I'm a little upset about this.
You'd be on the side. I made the signs.
Yeah.
I'm not really with them.
Yeah, they paid me. All right, so we keep going forward, and then this is when we finally meet up with Taylor, who I told you kind of resembled the person from the remake of Scarface. Have you seen any of the Scarfaces? Either one?
I saw the original. Well, the one with Al Pacino.
So the original one.
Yeah.
Black and white.
I thought there was... No, Al Pacino was color.
Oh, then yeah. That was the 80s.
But even that, he looked like him.
Yeah,
like,
it was
just
it was a white suit.
The outfit.
Had a red shirt under it. Scarface.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new one, but I really like the original one, and I don't want to taint it with the other one. So I'm like, I'm going to keep with the 40s and 50s one. Mm-hmm. And then the mutant person comes up, and he says, all right, we're going to have you guys fight, because we're a peaceful area, and we do not fight. Oh, then what do? We make you all fight. Oh, okay, that seems reasonable. So they both fight for a while. It's very quiet. There's no music.
But it's also because
or there might be a little music.
His mind is forcing them to. And it's that noise, the humming noise.
Yeah.
It's like not even a jingle. It's just a loud type of thing. But so they're fighting each other against their will for like 5 minutes. That went on quite a long time. Reminded me of Star Trek for some reason, like the original Star Trek.
And then we have Nova come out, and she says her first word, Taylor, and it's like, oh, that's adorable. And then and then the mutant gets killed, and then they hide, and then the gorillas find the area, and they're like, all right, we're gonna kill a couple and save a couple. I didn't get that. Maybe to test on.
Well,
but at the same point, it's like, okay, we got 3, let's save 2.
Yeah, they just started rounding them up, and they just shot other people, and there was no fighting back from these people who had mind powers that you could see anyway, that they showed.
So then they run in, the gorillas, and then they're like, all right, we're in. There's humans in here! And he shoots Nova, so now Nova's dead.
Well, that's like, you mean the climax?
Yeah, we're kind of getting to the end.
Yeah, and that's, so they run into where the missile is, or the bomb, as they said. And so, yeah, you have Brett is up on some wall, and he's rapid fire shooting people. And Taylor's shooting, and then somebody shoots Taylor. He dies kind of dramatically. Although he's still alive for a minute, because then that's funny. That's when Brett is shooting, like, all the apes as they're running up.
And then during your part, while we were watching the movie, you went, why don't they just shoot him? Like, that would be so easy. Next scene, whole line.
Yeah, you see, like, it's a scene of, like, 12 apes facing the camera, all with guns, and then they turn it to Brett, and every one of them shoots him. He's all bloody. So he's dead. Nova's dead.
And then Taylor's just like, Dr. Zaius, you got it, Zaius. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying Zaius. No. Dr. Zaius, you gotta help me. I love your song. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. And he goes like, nope. Humans are bad.
Evil.
They're evil. They can only do evil. And he goes like, you made a doomsday bomb. And then Dr. Zaius is like, all right, then what are you going to do? And he just falls down and pushes the button, and then triggering the bomb. And then here's what the voiceover narration says. This is odd. In one of the countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead. Then the film ends with no music behind the credits, and it fades out, and it goes, here's the 5 people in the film.
Yeah.
And then it goes, the end. Like, could you imagine, you're taking your kids, and you're like, oh boy, I can't wait for the second Planet of the Apes movie. And then they walk out, they're making a third?
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
It reminds me of the what was the Star Wars one where they all died? Spoiler alert.
Oh, Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Yeah, it's, you leave, and it's like, oh man, don't spoil it. Okay, spoiler. Everyone dies.
But somehow they're going to come out with Escape from the Planet of the Apes as part 3.
Well, because that's supposed to be a little behind. I don't know.
We'll have to watch it and see. But...
No. So, fine.
Well, I got to know now.
I guess.
Because I've seen parts of that one too, but again, I was probably 13.
You ready for some interesting facts before we kind of end this off?
Sure.
You know Orson Welles?
Yeah.
He was offered the role as the gorilla. General Ursus. He turned it down. And then we had Burt Reynolds, who was considered for the lead role of John Brent. So, wait! His last name is Brent. His first name is John.
Which has never been in the movie.
No! Even in the credits.
Even he introduced himself as Brent.
It's like me walking up. Hi, my name's Thayer. No, it's not. My name's Flippin' Jared. Which is spelled Jared.
Yeah, I named you.
Yeah, I know, but it's not called like all these other different spellings. Yeah. And then James Frank Curris, who is the actor who played Brent, and the reason why he was chosen was because he resembled Charlton Heston.
But for what reason?
I don't know. And then Don Medford.
And his hair was so good through most of the movie too. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was. And then Don Medford, who had made a couple other films, was on different TV shows. He made Let me see here real quick. He did Death Ship, which was a Twilight Zone episode, To Trap a Spy, Ghostbreakers, The Hunting Party. He had a couple. Sizzle, Dusty, Coach of the Year, all these different films. He was offered to direct the film, and he agreed to, but then he walked out. Why do you think he walked out?
Because it stunk.
Nope.
Not enough money?
The budget was halved. So he's like, no. So,
what would they do? You think if it was a higher budget?
So there's
an ending.
So there's a segment that I've essentially added to this, which is called "If I Were to Write It," and it's essentially if you were to write the film in any other way, if any different scene, how would you write it? Personally, what I would do, cut out the fact that talks about how great your first movie was. Talk solely only about Brent. Don't mention Taylor for a while until finally someone goes, "Hey, where's Taylor?" Or have Nova's first words be Taylor much earlier, and then have Brent go, "Oh yeah, Taylor. I remember him like on Earth. We used to be space buddies." Flashback to Earth so that you get that kind of resembling. Kind of keep most of the film intact, because that's what I try to do. So have more protesting, because I felt like there was too little. Shrink down the size of the army of General Ursus, because that's way too big of an army. And then have Dr. Zaius play a more prominent role, but have him change. Like, have him actually help Taylor up, right? Mm-hmm. But then what would happen is that the exact same thing would still happen of somehow the button gets pushed, but have General Ursus push that button instead, so that he ends the Earth and not Taylor. Well, if I had to change it.
That's a good point, because basically Dr. Zaius was saying, "Oh, humans are evil and you're always destroying things," and then Taylor pushes the button. That just kind of proved his point.
Yeah. You're only possible destruction. No, I'm not. The planet Earth will destruct in 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think there needed to be redemption somewhere, because nobody was any better off. I mean, everybody was dead, obviously, at the end of the movie, but there was never any redemption by anybody. Nobody was. I mean, we said in the first podcast about Taylor that he was a jerk. He didn't have enough time to be or not be a jerk in this one. But I mean, if I was making it, I would do it so that you had the keepers of the divine bomb in it a little earlier, so you knew they were there.
Yeah, or explain something.
Explain anything. I would, because you didn't know what they were about in the first place, other than they were crazy and they worshipped a bomb.
So,
I think you needed a bigger kind of a climax that made more sense, because you just had these apes trying to conquer these people that shouldn't have even known they were there in the first place.
General Ursus.
Uh-huh.
Ursus is Latin for bear.
Cool. He's a bear.
It's a bear. Also, Queensboro Plaza in New York needs to say that's a real thing. It's above ground, and it serves elevated tracks. The Queens Plaza is underground, but not Queensboro. So that's fun.
Well, it sunk.
Oh, wait. Okay, so I want to end this quickly, because we're getting to the 1 hour mark where I'm trying to stay back that. But this, I found an alternate ending to how this is supposed to be, so allow me a moment of your time. An alternate ending was written where Taylor, Brent, and Nova escaped the underground city prior to the detonation of the bomb, so they're alive, which was not a doomsday device as it is in the finished film. They return to Ape City and, along with Zara and Cornelius, release the humans from the cages, and a new order is beginning. The script ends hundreds of years later with the lawgiver teaching a group of ape and human children who sit in harmony together. The final shot of the script shows a mutated gorilla emerging from the underground and fatally shooting a flying dove. The lawgiver scene was resurrected as the framing structure for Battle for the Planet of the Apes. So in that film, it essentially ended kind of like WALL-E, where robots and humans lived in peace.
Yeah, and I think that would have made the climax a lot better had there been a chase scene with them getting out. Because I kind of thought at some point in the storytelling you'd have Taylor or somebody kind of mobilize the humans, and even though they were not able to talk or anything, make some sort of a society, and that never happened.
Charlton Heston didn't sound like he really wanted to do this film either. He didn't want to play George Taylor again. His agreement, which is quoted in Behind the Planet of the Apes, the documentary, it had to be shot within a 2-week period. His parts, so he was fine with being at the very end of the film. However, he suggested the ending, and I'm quoting him. Why don't I just set off this bomb and destroy the world? That's the end of the sequels. I don't think he really liked this film. So, speaking of liking films, we're going to segue into what we thought, which I'm sure people will guess. Out of 10 protester signs, how many protester signs would you give this?
How about monkey heads?
Out of 10 monkey heads, how many monkey heads do you give this film?
Can I do halves?
You can do the ears.
What?
Ears are the halves.
Okay. I'll just do 3 monkey heads.
3?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your reasoning?
It sucked.
That's a good reason.
That's terrible. I mean, I've been talking about it for an hour. It's just terrible storytelling, and there's so many holes in it. I was disappointed.
It really didn't live up to your childhood expectations?
No, I liked it a lot better as a child.
Yeah, I mean, it did get the, it didn't do good either. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 38%, and it still holds that. And it even reads, Beneath the Planet of the Apes offers more action than its predecessor, unfortunately at the expense of the social subtext that elevates the franchise's best entries. So, it doesn't sound like a lot of people really like this film either. I think, and this is difficult because since I gave Spaceballs a 4, I think I gave it a 4? Yeah, I gave it a 4.
Gave it a 4?
I gave it a 4. I didn't really like it.
Wow.
Yeah, don't pull what everyone else does.
You can't make Planet of
Planet
of the Apes better than Spaceballs.
No, it wasn't, but I don't think it was better than Spaceballs. So I'd want to raise Spaceballs to like 5 if I could, just so that
adjusting Spaceballs.
Just so that this could have. I'm gonna give this one a 3.5. I don't, and that's not just to one up you, by the way, but more in the sense of it didn't strike the same chords as it did with the original one. So for that reason, it's not a film that I would watch again. I think personally, first one, fine. It's a fine movie. I'd show people that film.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, watch this film. It's actually a really good one. Don't watch the second one. Well, why not? It's the exact same as the first one, except everyone dies. It's like Rogue One. So, where they're going with the third one, I don't know. Are we going to do the third one? I guess.
Didn't you say the third one got better?
The third one did
Tomatoes?
get better. It got around an 89, I think, on Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, but
difference,
yeah. I think the main topic was how it was, one, in modern times, and also, two, how it focused on more Cornelius and Zila? Was that her name?
I forgot now. Zara?
Zara.
Zula?
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I guess another film that we're not, or at least I'm not really a huge fan of. Other films you've been on have gotten high praise in the sense of Saving Mr. Banks and Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Which started it off. So to go from the one that started it to this is kind
kind of deflating.
Yeah.
That's why I got to do number 3. I really wonder how many people actually saw this one, because this one wasn't. It's not like it's well known in the series.
No.
You know?
But I don't know. I wonder if I said this before in this podcast as well. Any of the movies, even if I say they're bad, still go watch them. Prove me wrong. Tell me that you liked it, and then we can have a good talk about it, because I do like listening to other people's ideas and thoughts of films. So only don't tell people that they're wrong if their judgment, which was fun with Spaceballs. They're like, "You're wrong." Am I? Oh, I didn't know that. Should I change my answer?
Yeah, just an opinion.
Yeah, it's like, okay. So this is usually the part where we end the podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to bed. It's 10:44.
Yeah, we started at 9:44, so
That's an hour.
gonna go and brush my teeth and all that stuff. Yeah, that does it. So thanks again for joining me, and thank you again, everyone, for listening. And till next time, we'll see you for Planet of the Apes number 3, Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Escape from Planet of the Apes. Not next time, right? Just probably next time I'm on.
Yeah, next time you're on, or whatever other film you want to come on. So we'll see you guys then. See you later.